Hey, my name is Roman, aka Youngbizwhiz, and if you don't know recently what's been happening, Trump tariffs have been the name of the game and it's been affecting worldwide. It originally started with China back in 2016 where Trump and China were like a big two powerhouses colliding with each other, and now that Trump is back in office, it has kind of rekindled this relationship with China, Canada, and Mexico getting tariffed originally about 20-25%.
We'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
Them retaliating and then Trump deciding to not only tariff the entire Europe, but actually the whole world.
I think you're going to remember today it's going to be a free nation that we're dealing with. We're going to have a very free and beautiful nation. It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, you know, he was right. This has turned out to be one of the most important days in the history of our country. That's a 10. That's a good one.
About 10%. And because of that, outlash has happened, craziness has been going on, and Canada, my bad, China decided to put a 34% tariff back on America because of these tariffs. And due to that 34%, Trump decided to attack back with a bigger tariff on China. And then China came back right now, today, with an 84% tariff. So we are now in the 84% tariff era, and
And in breaking news, China has just hit back, Beijing raising its retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods to 84%, up from 34%. That will come into effect tomorrow. And for more on this, let's bring in our late news regular, Scott Phillips from Motley Fool. Scott, let's start with those 5 potential rate cuts by the end of the year. Of course, that means relief for mortgage holders, but it also hints at the growing fear of a global slowdown.
Natalia, good evening. You've absolutely captured it. That's exactly what's going on. This is in the be careful what you wish for category. Anyone with a mortgage, anyone with a small business loan, a personal loan, anything else, you'll always take lower interest rates. That'd be wonderful. The problem is if they do come, particularly in that size and that speed, it is going to be because the Reserve Bank is worried about the impacts on the Australian economy of the ongoing trade war. So yes, we'll take them. We hope not to have them in that circumstance.
The global economy is really an uncharted territory. The US whacking China with that 104% tariff.
I can't believe I'm doing a video on this because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how long it's gonna be until someone decides to back down or come to the table, because I decided to look into the numbers, and apparently China imports about just under $500 billion into America every single year, while America imports about just under $150 billion into China every year. And basically, with China literally tripling our imports into their country, it would seem very obvious that our trade deficit, which in 1996 by Nancy Pelosi talking about the trade deficit from China and wanting to put tariffs on them, we were losing about $30 billion at the time, $30 to $40 billion a year. Now it has become just under $300 billion. It is now triple the amount of imports that come from America into China, and has 10 times since 1996 and 2025. And I think it's very obvious that with America being a consumer country, that we are the ones with the power when it comes to getting imports into our country. Since we are the ones that spend the money, it seems that we aren't really the ones that send our goods into China as much as China sends their goods into us. And so by doing that in my head, I feel that it would be more rational, that it seems that the more the tariff war goes on, the more that America, the more that Trump decides to tariff China, and the more that China decides to retaliate by tariffing back America, it seems that Xi Jinping is going to be at more of a loss than Trump will be when it comes in the long run. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, the consumer also loses. I agree, because once again, what happens with tariff wars is that there's more taxes on goods, more costs on importing and exporting products into different countries. And because of that, what happens is with the cost of goods rising up, the business doesn't decide to take the loss. They pass it on, the cost of goods, onto the consumer. And if the consumer thinks that the product is too expensive, they won't buy it. But if they have to buy it, then I call this inflation. The price of goods went up. Consumers have to buy these products, their necessities or whatnot. And because they buy them, they have less money to spend on other things. And so consumers usually lose, and typically the consumers that lose the most are the middle class and the lower class, because if you're in the top 10% of earners, you're not going to really suffer as much when it comes to things costing $1 or $3 more. But if you're in the lower middle class or in the low class of America or in these other countries, you'll notice these costs of goods increasing, adding up slowly bit by bit, and your paycheck less and less, even though your paycheck is already less. So with that in mind, it just seems that we are in a very interesting time. And with everything that's going on, I don't really know who's to win. And once again, I just feel that China has more to lose in the tariff war than America. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that China actually has just as much to lose, if not less to lose than America? Does America actually have more to lose than China? Let me know what you think about the tariff situation in the comments below. But yeah, with other countries actually coming to the table because of the tariffs, which is originally what I thought was the whole plan. We just kind of slap these tariffs around and then maybe we get better trade deals or better deals with these countries, because it would seem that America is in the 20s when it comes to trade disparity with other countries. We are typically at a loss when it comes to importing versus exporting against these other countries. And whether people want to disagree with the numbers that Trump gave, I think they might have been maybe a little bit over exaggerated. I'm not entirely sure. I heard that there was a milk tax that was 250% from Canada that apparently doesn't actually get taxed, but would get taxed if hypothetically too much milk was being imported into Canada. But overall, I just think it's crazy the times we're living in right now. And I think that with the shortening middle class and the growing lower class, it would seem that poverty is only going to come amidst of everything going on. And with the whole world watching this tariff battle, I think it's interesting that people from other countries have been recently watching my videos. And I like to let y'all know, as an American, I'm in the lower class because I'm still currently in college. I'm still working day to day. I'm still working a full-time job, working day to day, saving up for a car. And hey, people deserve to know what it feels like to be an American in these times. And I think I'd love to know other people, and I'd love to know other people's opinions about what's going on. I remember when I used to be a training manager at Smoothie King, that people were talking about Trump getting elected and being worried that the ballots were being miscounted, and I remember people worrying that ADC was going to lose to Trump and that the votes were going to be recounted. And it was a very big time when Trump was getting reelected into America. Now that this has happened, it seems that, a lot more change is happening, and I don't know if it's for the good or bad. I mean, it sounds like it's supposed to be for the good and that people are going to suffer short term, but who really knows if it's short term, long term, if we're near the end of the trade war, or if we're getting close to it. Once again, a few countries have been recently coming to the table because of these trade tariffs to try to find a more amicable deal with America. For example, Vietnam was one of them, which I was very surprised at because I am actually part Vietnamese. Tôi biết nói chút tiếng Việt. Actually, biết nói nhiều tiếng Việt tại vì tôi học rất là nhiều. Nhưng mà bây giờ, I just think that we're in very changing times, and who knows what's going to happen next. Once again, my name is Roman, aka Youngbizwhiz. I'd love to hear your opinions, your thoughts about the whole trade tariffs. Do you think America is actually the one losing more? Do you think the consumers are the ones that are going to suffer the most? Do you even care about the trade tariffs because everyone talks about it and no one actually cares about it, but because people want to listen about it, they get more views and make money off of it? Let me know in the comments below your opinions about the whole situation. And hey, will World War III start? Take care. Peace.
There's a lot of panic and uncertainty at the moment. What should investors and retirees or those approaching retirement be doing at the moment?
Gee, I'm glad you asked that question, Tony. This is really, really important, right? This is noise right now. Now, it's real noise. There are real losses. People watching right now are going to have lower superannuation balances, lower investment portfolio balances. If you're in or near retirement, you're worried about how you're going to pay the bills. They're all really, really valid concerns. The reality, though, is we've been here before. Not exactly right now, not exactly in this exact circumstance. Think about COVID. Think about the global financial crisis. Think about the dot-com crash, the 87 stock market crash. We've been through all of these before. And the key lesson from every fall in history for the ASX, right back to the early 1900s, is the market has never yet failed to regain and then surpass a previous high. In other words, when it falls, it eventually gets back to that level and goes higher again. Now, I can't promise that's going to happen here. I'm not allowed to, and I wouldn't because it's not really the right thing to do. My strong suspicion, in fact, my expectation, I'm very strong at that, is that the market will recover over time. So the answer to your question, keep your eyes on the horizon. Look forward. Think long term. That's what super is after all. That's what investing is after all. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's painful right now.